What is up, everybody? My name is Dane Thompson. Welcome back to another episode of BurnDown. So, finally on today's episode, we're going to do something a little bit different. I still have a few little pieces and parts to paint on the car, but I will tell you what, I am sick of doing that and wasting all weekend. Paint just takes forever, and it rained today, and it's supposed to continue to rain, so I can't push things out. I really can't paint or do anything. Basically, we just have the grill left. I will show you guys though. We put like the mirror and the door handle. I found this door lock because I lost it, so I gotta paint that black still. We got the trim around the windows going on. We got this on there. I need to throw the bumper down, so maybe at some point we can do the bumper. Oh, I got my Malibu badge. So for those of you that remember, I replaced this whole section on the car here. I didn't punch new holes to put the emblem back, so we've only got Malibu on one side. So there you go, Malibu. And then door handles lock, everything here, and then front trim. So at some point all of this will get blacked out, and then this needs to get blacked out. But like I said, I'm sick of that. I want to move forward. Opening season was pretty much last weekend. Opening day for racing here in Southern California. There's another day scheduled today at my local track, Irwindale, but it rained, so we didn't go. So that gives me the perfect opportunity to try to short block my engine. So I got rid of some of the parts and pieces to the car. We'll make some space. I got to clean up a bit. My garage is so trash, dude, from doing body work, but we'll kind of sweep up, move stuff around. It's going to take me a bit to get set up, but I have a table over here, and we can take and throw the block on the table, and then we'll dig some parts out, and we'll see if we can put the crank and pistons and all the stuff in short block the engine today is kind of the goal. I was waiting on studs. I got ARP main studs. Yes, I know I don't need them. We've pretty much gone overboard with everything at this point for this engine, but here is the cool thing with LS motors. To me, if you start with a junkyard engine, right, you grab a turd engine, whatever it is, don't worry about the size of it or whatever, you get basically a truck motor out of the junkyard, a few $100, you slap that thing in your project, throw a cam in it, some springs, you're off to the races. You can turbo it, you can do all kinds of stuff, right? Well, eventually as you go, say you blow those apart, or you want to upgrade to different, cubic inch motors and whatnot, you end up getting bit by the LS bug. They're so interchangeable is what makes them beautiful. I know there's a lot of LS haters. I don't really care. I'm pretty much with Happel on the premise of, you give me an engine that has a lot of aftermarket support, it's very user-friendly, it's cheap and plentiful, that's what I'm going to run. Ford, Dodge, if everybody else comes out with stuff that's just, if it was the same as an LS, that's what I would run. I don't really care about the brand. I care that it makes power and that it's cheap and it's plentiful. So, with that being said, as you get more into it, you'll realize that you can take parts from one and kind of stuff them in another. So for this engine, I ended up buying aftermarket rods, but I did my research. I don't have a stroker or anything special like that, but the rod length on this engine will work in a 5.3, a 6 liter, or a 6.2 liter. So if this engine ever dies, I can go to the local yard, dig out a 5.3, take the rods out of this thing, throw it in that, and I've got a piston and rod, well, got a rod motor, I'll have to get pistons again. The pistons do not change over. We did go with pistons, however, but like the main studs, head studs, gaskets for the most part, a lot of that stuff is all interchangeable. So it's beautiful if you do want to upgrade and you spend the money and you're like, oh, I want to do studs because it makes me feel, I sleep better at night because of that. Well, your money's not really wasted because you can put those on something else. So that's the thing that I like about it. I've been doing it for a few years now, so it's finally time that I kind of step my game up. But now that I've acquired a few parts, they'll just go on the next one and the next one until we get to an LT. I think after this whole charade and I can kind of calm down with life, I'll get my hands on an LT. I'd like to do direct injection because I think, that's, before we have to make cars electric, I'd at least like to get to the LT and kind of make some power and do that stuff, and then not really looking forward to electric cars because I don't like getting shocked, and the battery power it takes to move a vehicle is, you're messing with like high line wire voltage, I would imagine. But anyway, that'll be in a few years from now. So let's short block this engine. Enough about that. I'll clean up, bring you guys back and show you what we're working with. All right, so we clean the area up a little bit. So this will be my workspace. We got the block up here. Oh, I need to order one of those. Anyway, what we're gonna do today though is the cam bearings. So these are the old ones. You probably can't see in there, but they're pretty toasted for the most part. They're real rough. That one, they're all junk. Anyways, we got new ones, and I got this bad boy. I think it was like off eBay. So this is a cam bearing tool, right? So it has a mandrel and a little centering cone, and you basically put this together and you whack the thing, and then you knock the cam bearings in and out of the motor. From what I read, there's a couple things that are important. There's an oil galley somewhere on here. There's a hole. Because the thing's upside down. Right there. So this one has a hole there. Maybe they're all in the same. Yeah, so it's all in the same line. So there's a hole there. So that hole needs to be lined up with the hole in the block. Otherwise you won't get oil to your cam. And then I bet you could guess what happens. So clocking them in the right direction. And then each one, because there's, 5 of these bad boys. This one is its own size. This one and this one are the same size, and the outer two are the same size. So if you mix these up, it's not going to go well, and it's not going to work. So I think those are the two things. Clocking it properly so you get oil passage, putting the right cam bearing in the right spot. But first we need to get those ones out. Don't take any of this, to the bank, I would say, considering I've never really done this. This is my first bottom end on an LS motor. We're just gonna wing it. Crank is over there, but let's do the cam bearings first, knock these in and out. The other reason you want to do that before the crank is in is because you have access. So that's why this is the very first procedure that I'm gonna do, because when the crank is in here and the journals and everything, it's all in the way. So obviously it's much more difficult to get to those. Well, impossible really, because you got a crank and everything in the way. So that way we can put this off and on with this slid in position. So I'm gonna just time lapse this. We'll struggle. We'll knock these things hopefully in and out. Before I do that, let me show you the bearings that we got, and then we'll get rolling. All right, before we get started, I figured I'd show you what we're working with. I don't really showcase this because I'm not Mr. Try to show off stuff all the time, but I'm lucky enough to have some good friends that are awesome, and I got hooked up with some Carrillo bullet stuff, pistons, rods, and then I sprung for the King race bearings. Why not, right? Go big or go home. And then these are just standard cam bearings. So we're gonna hopefully be installing these today, and pretty much all this stuff. We'll see how far we go. I'm just gonna take my time. Another cool point is I had the machine shop gap these rings. I don't know if you guys watched Reed and myself use the Gapper 3000 on the 6-liter that I had. So I have gapped rings, but he actually has a ring filer, and I figured I've got a nice set of pistons and rods. He had it for balancing, so I said, here, just make it happen, Captain. So I don't have to do that either. We just got to put everything together, slam her on home. So here are the cam bearings, and it should say somewhere, like the detective I am. The other batch I had you open the box lid and it would say it. So these ones are stamped with a number, and then if you turn on the side, the number coincides where the bearing goes. So the B339 is 1, B336 is 2, B338 is 3. I guess that, yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, those are your positions. And then the corresponding, so you got a 9 and a 9, a 6 and a 6, and then your 8 is the center. And those are all stamped right here. So 8, 6, and then 9. Same here, 6, 9. Got it? Like I said, it's my first time, so don't roast me too bad, but I think we'll be all right. Let's take my time, we'll enjoy it, and I might get some real motivation. If we can get this thing short blocked, that might light the fire under my ass to really get this thing motivated. So here are the bearings. As you can see, they're pretty rough. Some of these are really, like, the material looking wise, they're not that bad. Yeah, look at that thing. Sheared that little, that thing's blocked on that side. Anyway, oh, there's a good one. So that one is pretty chewed up, really rough. This wouldn't fly. And then these are in the order I had taken them out. So from this side of the block here, bam, 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 bam. So this one was really toast. Like, you're not going to run a cam on that thing. So I want to clean these out real good. You know, get some acetone or whatever, and just make sure this is real nice and clean. You can see this is the oil passage here. There's only one, so it's just that oil passage, and it's a pretty big slot, so that's pretty simple. Yeah, and they're like that on all of these. It's a pretty big window, so basically if you just line it up here and knock the thing in, as long as it's centered, you're going to be good. So I think centering it is going to be the trick, so we'll figure it out. When I figure this thing out, I will show you guys. But that's it. I'm going to get in here and try to clean these real good, and then we'll try to knock these dudes in, and then we can get on to some of the other stuff. Alright, I want to share this with you guys. I didn't look videos up or anything. I've kind of get the gist of how this works. But this is off at an angle. It's a pretty big spread, so it'd be pretty fairly simple to hit. But to make life easier, since like on this one it's easy to see, what I did is I lined up the hole. I just eyeballed it, the center of this hole to obviously the center of that. And then I put a mark that's kind of dead center on the top. So when you're looking down in here and you load the bearing on the tool, I just know that this has to be there. And these, oh, that was a good one. That's not good. That's a bad day. Anyways, yeah, so when you look down, this line will be straight across, and then you know that this is clocked at the right angle. So when you drive it in, because when you load this on the tool, you can't see the hole anymore. So that's where it gets tricky. So then what I did is I went and I did every single bearing, and then I'll just double check, but this line should basically face up like that. And then that way when it's on the tool, I know I can just pound the thing in, and then I just have to worry about it being flush. And that's all. Alright, so I want to show you guys. We got it in. We're lined up. This one's easy to see because you can see into the hole. So it's basically centered. You can see that it's thinner than the actual race or wherever this thing seats. And then even on the old ones, it's probably hard to see, but there's marks like where the old crusties were. And I wiped this out with acetone, but that's a good indicator whether or not you are centered. And then my little marker trick worked like a charm. Like I said, you can see in there. We'll get a pick to make sure I can run it, that it's clear. You know, you can stick the pick in there and wiggle it around. I'm going to do that for these ones because I can't see them as easily as the end bearings. But we're going to cruise on. I'll put you guys on a time lapse. Hopefully we can knock all these in, and hopefully we do good. Wish me luck. Ta-da! All right, there it is. I feel pretty good about it. Except for this one was a little tricky because, like I stated in the beginning, this mandrel doesn't fit through here. So I wanted to drive it from this side to keep it square. But had I done that, the mandrel, everything would have went in, and the mandrel would have been stuck because it wouldn't pass through the bearing because I have all these other bearings installed. So I did it from the outside. I tried putting it on and then using this, and it got a little cockeyed, and then this was a little tight, and I was like, oh no. But it ended up getting squared up. This thing fits, you know, slides in and out. The real test is going to be when we put the cam in, but I feel good about that now. It looks nice and square. Again, this is backyard BS, right? And then we've got the oil hole, galley hole or whatever lined up. I'll show you. You put the pick in here, see how the pick goes in, and I can move it in the full 360. There's nothing obstructing it, so that's where it should live, front to back, in my opinion. Again, I have no idea what I'm doing. You guys can chime in, make life easier maybe on the next one that I have to do. But all those boys are in there. Look at that. Woo-wee! Nice, nice. So we did that. Let's get on to some bottom end stuff. Here's another quick one for you guys. I use a pick, and then if you really, you got to be careful so you don't stick yourself with this thing, but if you push hard against it and you can pry this thing out. They call this like the dog bone or dumbbell or something. I don't know what the real term is, so somebody please chime in the comments. But basically this is I think it's the oil galley plug. This goes in before you put the back cover on, and it has a little rubber seal on it. A lot of times this gets overlooked, but if this bleeds, your oil pressure is going to suffer. So $8 at like O'Reilly or wherever, do yourself a favor, get one of these when you're going through your engine. And even if you're doing junkyard motors, I always recommend this little guy, the back cover and the front cover, and a new O-ring on the oil pump, and then the damn thing will just be bulletproof. But yeah, it gets neglected a lot of time, and then everybody always complains about oil, bearings go bad. You know the drill when you don't have oil pressure, right? Things don't last very well. All right, here we are. I had the wife help me muscle this thing onto the engine stand, and I figured I'd show you guys that are new to this. These are numbered 2, 3, 4, and then mine has lots of 5s on it because originally it was a 1. I've got this block cheap. It didn't have a main cap, so he actually had to line bore this and hone it or whatever they do to make the thing work properly. So it's important that this one goes there. Obviously there's enough 5s on there that I know, but I did mark everything so it goes back the way he has it set here. So we'll knock these caps off. I'll set them on the bench in the same order. That way when we drop the crank down, bearings and stuff, we can put them back in that order. And this is not really necessary, but I figured since it's aluminum block, we're just going to stud the bottom and the top end. I got like the China ones down there. I'm a little leery of. I know people probably say don't use it because I've seen people snap those off. But we went with ARP on the bottom, and then I may just bite the bullet and get decent hardware for the heads as well. And the only reason I'm really doing this stuff is because it's an aluminum block. On the steel blocks, I wouldn't really worry that much, but since we're here, whatever, right? Down the rabbit hole we go. Alright, so this is what these dudes look like when you pull them out of the box. You got this rack, that rack, and then this is your center bearing. It goes here. It's like a U-shaped bearing, so it's different. That's all in this box here. So, got my lube action. So we'll just put the whole bottom half of these bearings all in, put a generous amount of lube, and then got my crank right here. I'll drop her on down. So there's some other portion of this where you take a plastic gauge and you torque it down and all that. Well, you guys can scream and yell and whatever, but we're gonna put this boy together and call it good, right? So hopefully the machine shop dude did a solid job, and I'm gonna assemble it and we'll twist it and torque everything down to spec, and then I'm just gonna call it good. So I'm sure you guys are gonna scream and yell and go like, no, that's not how you do it. Well, I don't really know how you do it. That's how I'm gonna do it. And I don't know, you can jinx me and say whatever, but I'm not terribly worried about 100,000 miles out of this thing. If I get one season, I'm good. I'll be happy with that. So yeah, on to the build, right, for the 1 season motor. Okay, we got the studs and everything kind of in place. Put a bunch of assembly lube on the bearings, and then I had to remember to put it on the face of the thrust bearing, but we got that all figured out. Yes, if you're wondering, this crank's a little hammered. Anyways, yeah, I confused myself, but I think we're good now with the short and long length on these guys. Now, next step is you got to put the lube on, which I did, and then we will torque these in a certain sequence. And then you got to have the ARP lube on here due to friction. So I know that was a deal, so I read the instructions for one time actually. And then these are your final numbers, 60, 50, 20, and 28. I don't have the windage tray though, so I'll have to look. I think I washed it yesterday, my buddy's parts washer, and then I forgot to take it out of my friend's truck. So we'll just get this far. I won't put the windage tray on, but that's not a big deal. So let me torque all these down, and then we'll just double check, make sure this guy spins. And like I said, I know that clearances and stuff should be what they are. This thing was all machined. I know you guys that do all your due diligence are going to freak out because I didn't like plastic gauge and all that stuff, but we like to wing things around here. This isn't the do it right channel. This is the do it and hopefully it works channel. That brings us to the rods and the pistons. So quick backstory, I think I told you guys, but a good buddy of mine hooked me up with CP Carrillo. Don't really want to mention him so you guys don't badger him, and I doubt he would hook up strangers anyways, but initially I had enough in my budget for this engine to do a Summit piston and rod set, and by the time everything kind of worked out, these ended up being the top of the budget. And for my money, and probably for your money if you had the choice, I mean, obviously I went with Carrillo over Summit Series stuff. Not to knock their stuff, I would gladly use it and run it, but you know, like I said, if the choice came down to Summit or this is what I chose to run. So these things are slick as all get out. I think it's pretty much the nicest pistons and rods. Well, I don't really buy pistons and rods, so this is the nicest set of pistons and rods I've ever had, because I've never had a set. They are fantastic. So these are a very, very nice piece, and hopefully they should last me a while. But here is the one thing that is very cool about this line. Technically this is Carrillo's like budget line, if you will. They're made to take a beating. I mean, these things are badass. But the thing that's cool is they are basically like an off-the-shelf item. So you can get onesie twosie, I believe. So if I torched, say, a piston or whatever, or, you know, bent a rod, heaven forbid, I mean, by the time we bend this, we probably got some real issues going. But if I did smoke one of these somehow, because things do happen, I could probably get another one. So I'll keep all my weights and stuff. And these, well, technically these are all on point. That's the other nice thing about an expensive set of pistons and rods, is I have this thing balanced, the crank and everything. So basically I just balance the crank to what these are. So as long as I keep these weights and everything around, if I had to get one extra rod, I could just have it, you know, matched to these, and we're good to go. So the other thing too, on a 6.2, it's the same stroke. It's a 6.125. So in essence, if I just got another set of pistons, I could drop these in a 5.3 or a 6 liter, and we are off to the races. Granted, you don't get 6.2s all the time, so this is kind of a special deal, at least for me. But I can get 6 liters fairly, you know, commonly, and 5.3s all day long. So I figured this is a no-brainer. Hopefully we'll have these for quite a while, and probably for multiple engines, because I'm not a one engine kind of guy. Like these will just live probably forever. But, well, at least in my engines. So that is it. And again, rings have already been gapped. Here's my pistons, and then the wrist pins are in here somewhere, I think in here. And then these are the oil rings. And so what we'll do now is we got to put these together. So we'll put the rings and pistons and everything all together. We can put the rings in. Oh, you know what? I don't have those. I don't have the piston ring compressor. So I'll call a buddy of mine, see if I can get that. If I can't get that, then we're kind of screwed, because I'm not breaking a ring. Those were already filed, and I paid for all that stuff. So I need an actual piston ring compressor. I think my buddy Jim possibly has one. So look, I still got to build everything anyway, and then we'll put it all together, and then we'll see, because that might screw us. And if that is the case, then I will have to order one, and then we will come back and have to finish this project at a later date. But we'll see. Let me keep rolling with this. We'll assemble these, at least make them look fancy, and we'll go from there. All right, I'm making good headway. I wanted to share this with you guys since it's the last one. I don't know if I'll be able to capture it on video, but at least I can kind of explain it. There's these little C-clips, and they're a pain in the arse. But what you do, or what I've been doing, my thumb freaking is sore, but you start it by sticking the edge. I didn't watch YouTube or anything. I just figured this out. You know, you stick the little edge guy in here, and then I grab the top edge with my dikes here because you can hold it better. I was trying these guys. These are crap. Use some dikes. You're not going to hurt this, by the way. This thing's tough as all get out. So you grab it real tight with that, and you basically pull it, like twist it. And then with this thumb, I push on the back portion. So once you kind of twist this and it shrinks to start to fit in the hole, you should be able to push the back edge in with your thumb. And as soon as that goes in, you're pretty well golden, and then you can move your finger so you don't smash it, and you can just use the tip to click it in place. Once you get one or two, you'll get the rhythm of it. The first couple took me forever, and then I just banged right through all these. So let me see. I'll probably struggle. I'll try to do this one on camera. See if it'll help you guys. Probably not. I'm probably just gonna stab myself and then, you know, look pretty awesome doing it. But I didn't want to sit there and try to watch YouTube and figure stuff out, and I just beat my head against the wall. That's how we do it over here. So put this guy in. Alright, so that is in. So now, get the edge of this guy, line it up. There's this little circle cut out, and it'll kind of click in place, and it holds the edge of that so it doesn't go flying. Grab these, and then I do one of these with it. So wish me luck, people. And then I'm putting pressure with my thumb the whole time. That is it. And then there's a little tip right here. You just push it. Bob's your uncle. There you go. Ha! So that boy is in there. Dude's in there. We are rock and roll. At least I looked like a hero that time. Honestly, that was kind of luck, but these dudes are looking good. And then there was one. Alright, so I fast forward or time warped the whole deal for the most part until this one. I figure I'll just show you guys what I'm doing. Again, I'm not really an engine builder. I'm just using common sense, trying to slam this thing together. And in all honesty, this stuff's probably way too nice for what I'm doing, but I'll show you what I'm doing. If you have tips or tricks for the next guy, leave them in the comments. If you want to tell me I did everything wrong, hey, you know, that's up to you, but I'll just show you how I'm going about doing this thing. And again, if it lasts me for the season, I'm a happy, happy man. So, let's start here. So on your rings, see this gap here? Then the other one's gapped on the other side, the bottom ring. There's the top one and the bottom, and then these have other little rings in there too, and then those are all offset. That's so you don't get oil past the rings or compression, so you're supposed to offset those. I just know that from previous builds that I've done. And then another quick side note, these are machined, so I don't think it matters which way you put them back on, but the Chevy rods are cracked rods, and then I didn't even want to take a chance, so I just put a big mark on one edge, so when I pull this cap off, I know that when those line back up, it's in the same exact spot, because I don't want to change nothing when they clamp these together and they hone them or line hone them or bore them or whatever they do. So I want things to go back the exact same way they came apart. So I make that mess there. And then it has really nice ARP hardware with some goop on there, and they give you extra goop to put on there. So take these guys out, stand them up, and then these, you gotta pull them apart like so. Then I've got good old acetone, so we'll soak this rag, well, paper towel, whatever this thing is. And then I know these things are clean from the factory, but just to be sure, or I didn't touch it or do anything dumb, I like acetone because it evaporates fast, quickly. Sure, there's some other stuff you could use. And then just make sure you don't get the blue fuzz stuck. We've got the bearings. These are all numbered, so I just went 1, 1, 2, 2, and so on. So this is the last bearing, so this will be one side and then the other side. So we'll put these in the clean caps here. So I can bring these over here now. I guess I could have before, but I had pistons in the way. So one down. And then the last guy, my rod bearings. Same thing here. Make sure there's no blue fuzz anywhere. It's nice and clean. I've got assembly lube, so we'll put a generous amount inside both of these. And then I've already applied it to the crank journal as well. So as far as I know, you know, this is what saves you when you spin it around for the first. You're supposed to prime the engine, but this still helps when you rotate stuff in there before everything's lubed for the first time. Even spinning it by hand and all that. I also put some oil in the barrels so stuff would move a little easier. All right, so we got those guys down. Next is my ring compressor. So I've been doing it this flat on the bench and then putting the compressor over it and then trying to compress these flat on flat. I've been having a time with this thing though. I think the aluminum one is probably a much better deal. This universal guy, you know, but I'm thankful to have it because it's better than zero. So we clamp it down, make sure our piston's facing the right way, which is this way. Put the skirts in. And then I've been tapping it with, this thing's rubber, or like a nylon. You don't want to use metal. The other thing too, is you want to make sure your journal's out of the way. So you're not, yeah, we're out of the way. We'll have to rotate it, but so you're not knocking your piston into your journal. Probably wouldn't be good. I don't know. And we failed. All right. So this is what I've been doing. See the ring on the bottom, it came out of this. So I don't know, I've been having a time with this guy. I keep getting them, but you don't want to beat on it because you don't want to bust a ring. So this ring compressor is definitely taking this back today, and I won't ask to borrow this again. Well, all right, made it. All right, so our piston is in, but I didn't push it down very far. So we've got our journal there, so we want to rotate this so this is toward the bottom so the bolts are easier to access. Like, see how this one is? So we'll move this. I'm probably going to put the camera down because it moves, but with all the pistons and everything in there, it's not super simple to move around. All right, so that's that guy. We can tap it with our little dude. We guide it. Bring this thing in like SpaceX right here. Elon Musk. Bam. All right. And And we marked our cap. There's no marks on this side. This has the marks, so I know that it goes this way. Let's tap that beast on. We'll tap around. And these are the bolts. It's ARP hardware. Give them a little bit of the sauce. And we drive them home. And then I'm just going to hand tighten these. Just barely snug them. And then we'll flip this whole thing over and I'll torque all of these. And hopefully our rotating assembly rotates after that still. Huh? Bam! Alright, well, there it is. That's as far as we're going to get. So we got all new cam bearings in, main bearings, studs, rods and pistons, rod bearings, and that is where I'm going to leave you guys for today. Take a little bit of time to clean up. Made a mess, spilled some oil as usual. You know the drill. But that's about it. You know, you can leave comments or whatever, let me know. Again, this is like some backyard home built stuff. I'm not some pro. This is the first bottom end on Ellis that I've done. I guess we'll find out if it works or not, or if I did it wrong and I have to redo stuff. I'll let you guys know. It's not a big deal. I'm not too embarrassed about it. But hopefully it stays together. Like I said, if we get a season out of it, I feel pretty good. I do have to say, though, is it feels a little bit odd. I know a lot of people be like, oh, cool, I got all this good stuff. And I just kind of look at it and I'm like, I don't really think I need it for the most part. I just got it because I could, you know, afford to do it to a point. So I'm thankful for that and for good buddies that help me out and sponsors that help me with other stuff. So I, you know, basically what I did is the money I saved with, you know, certain parts and things that people help me with, that's how I ended up being able to afford the stuff that went in here. That and, you know, a discount. But I don't know, hopefully the thing stays in one piece and hopefully we can make some power and make some passes and have some fun, because that's the whole point of doing it like this. But honestly, my buddy pulled that 5.3 apart that I sold him that came out of the Malibu, and aside from the lifter trays, if I would have put new lifter trays and slapped it all back together, we'd still be rocking and rolling with that motor. That thing, there was nothing wrong with it. He pulled it all the way apart and the thing still looked beautiful. So I think the tune mostly is what makes these things live. And I think this is probably, I'm gonna jinx myself, but this is probably worse than just slapping together some junkyard engine and not looking at the cam bearings and throwing it in there. And just, if you have a good tune on that thing and you actually pay attention, they're pretty well indestructible for the most part. I mean, it is what it is though. It's a race car, right? I mean, if you're expecting 10 million miles and you want to drive around, yeah, a fresh motor. But if you're racing and you're hammering down and you're just having fun, you really can't beat a junkyard engine. This one's way over the top. Hopefully it serves me well. That's it. You guys know what to do. Like, subscribe, share. Until next week, hopefully we can bring you guys some back some stuff. We got parts coming. We'll get this thing put together because we got a lot of stuff to do. Maybe we'll go over that in the next video or the What's Happening video. I'm out.